Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Independent expert heads inquiry into Barilaro New York trade roll by Angus Thompson, June 25, 2022, 8:16 p.m. Save login, register or subscribe to save articles for later. Share normal text size, larger text size, very large text size. A former top-ranking NSW public servant will lead an independent inquiry into the controversial appointment of former Deputy Premier John Barilaro to a plum New York trade job. Secretary of the Department of Premier and Cabinet Michael Coates-Trotter on Saturday named Graham Head, a former NSW Public Service Commissioner, to investigate the hiring process that led to Barilaro's appointment to a $500,000 a year trade role as the state's U.S. Trade Commissioner. Former NSW Deputy Premier John Barilaro was appointed to a trade role in New York. Credit: Jessica Romas. He will examine the recruitment process leading up to Barilaro's appointment, any conflicts of interest that may have arisen in the selection process, and whether his recruitment complied with the government's own rules for hiring public sector staff. Head, now a partner at consulting giant EY, spent 6 years as the Commissioner of the state's Public Service Commission and was the inaugural Commissioner of the NDIS watchdog. Graham Head will lead the inquiry. The announcement of Barilaro's appointment late last Friday prompted outrage from state Liberal ministers and backbenchers and saw the NSW upper house promptly move to hold a separate inquiry into the processes behind the decision, which will start on Wednesday. Barilaro has been blocked from starting the new role until the upper house inquiry is completed. The role was created by Barilaro as one of 5 global trade commissioner roles he set up while he was trade minister. The roles attract an annual salary of $500,000 plus expenses, significantly more than the $343,360 a year he received as Deputy Premier. At least 2 preferred candidates were shortlisted for the role last May, with one having in-depth New York and markets exposure, before the position was ultimately re-advertised and handed to Barilaro barely 6 months after his resignation from Parliament on December 30. Premier Dominic Perrottet defended the appointment earlier in the week, saying Barilaro was by far the most outstanding candidate to come from a recruitment process which cost his government $18,150. Perrottet insisted the process was independent but admitted 2 similar positions in London and Tokyo were mistakenly reviewed by the ministry. Opposition leader Chris Minns on Saturday night tweeted that, if Labour is elected next year, John Barilaro will be on the first flight out of New York City. Last week Minns said Barilaro's appointment was offensive to frontline workers who earned less than Barilaro's expenses budget of over $100,000. Based on what we already know, there are serious questions for the Premier and the NSW government as to how this appointment was made, and NSW Labour will be exploring those over the coming weeks, Minns said on Tuesday. The Morning Edition newsletter is our guide to the day's most important and interesting stories, analysis and insights. Sign up here. Thank you for reading the Herald. This article is complimentary. Register or log in now to read more articles and unlock extra benefits. No payment required. Read more. Continue with Google, continue with Apple, or email address continue by continuing. You agree to your personal information being collected under our privacy policy and accept our terms of use. Hide content.